Hey guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, hi, I'm Jean. Today's video is going to be a part 2 of I Think My Daughter is Raising the Dead from r/NoSleep on Reddit. If you haven't seen part 1, I'll link the video in the description and go watch it, because this isn't a video where you can watch part 2 before part 1. I mean, no videos like that, but anyways, let's just jump right in. What? I nearly shouted, my brain somewhat unable to process the information. Don't worry, Mum, she kept smiling creepily. He's about to wake up. It will be alright. Oh my god. No, I shouted. It's not right. I stumbled back clumsily. I was so dizzy. Everything was spinning. How? I started before I finally just collapsed onto the floor. I can't tell you how long I was out. Probably an hour, more. The only thing I remember was that I instantly checked my phone just to see if the articles were still there. They were. I stumbled around the house shouting Grace's name, but she was nowhere to be seen. She was gone. Vanished. Where could she have gone? Kaylee's maybe? But then it hit me. How were Kaylee's parents handling this? Why wasn't this national news or something? No, I knew where she was. She was at the graveyard. Okay, but like anyone who spends their spare time at a graveyard, probably not a good person to be associated with, in my opinion. That's just my personal preference. Yeah. Well, unless you have like a passed away relative, then suppose it's alright, but like in this circumstance is what I mean. Even though she had problems understanding me, she could always read me. She always knew what I wanted, what I was thinking, and right now I was thinking I had to stop her. Don't get me wrong, there was probably little I wanted more than to bring Simon back, but not like this, not after 8 years in the ground. I've seen all the zombie movies. Pet Sematary. It never ends well. I've never seen that, but anyways. Zombie movies don't end well. We love a zombie apocalypse. I drove like a maniac. Probably like the worst thing you can do in this situation, because you're just getting in trouble by the law. Breaking just about every traffic rule invented. But I didn't care. It was getting dark, and I was picturing facing my psychopath daughter and her zombie father in a creepy old graveyard at night. I had no idea how to handle something like that. I wasn't Bruce friggin' Campbell. Who's that? Although I always had an axe in the trunk. A girl can never be too careful. Miraculously, I was able to avoid killing myself or anyone else and drove into the parking lot of the graveyard, parking the car haphazardly right in front of the gates leading into the burial plots. I'm not sure I even put the park brakes on. I was in such a hurry to get to Simon's headstone before it was too late. I ran like I've never ran before, my feet barely touching the ground, my lungs on fire, my heart racing like I'd shot it full of adrenaline. I was heaving for my breath like some asphyxiated donkey when I finally reached the headstone, finding Grace kneeling over it. She just looked up at me with the saddest expression on her face. She was never sad, but I had no words of comfort to offer for at least another minute or so. I resorted to sitting down beside her, holding her tightly, not sure if that was even helping at all. I'd never had to do anything like that. It was the awkwardest? I don't think that's a word. It was the awkwardest graveyard hug the world had ever seen. He isn't coming back, is he? I asked gently. I don't understand, she said sadly, her voice trembling. It was the first time I'd seen her on the brink of tears. They said I could do it, she whispered, burying her face in the palm of her hands. I stared at her a moment before asking the most obvious question I think I've ever asked. They? Who the hell are they? She sat there in silence for a few minutes, gathering herself, before she told me all about what had really happened during last year's summer break. I'm going to relay her story to the best of my ability, because I honestly might have forgotten details of it, with me being halfway unconscious from the intensity of the chase and the deep impacts of shock inflicted upon me as she was telling it. I remember the date clearly. It was a Thursday, the first week of summer break. I had work, as usual, and she was doing some writing. I've always been curious what she was writing about, but she never really wanted to share it with me. I pestered her about it just before I left, but she just waved me away. Apparently she took a break around noon to get something to drink when she spotted a black van parked across the street. It didn't look like there was anyone in it, so she just figured it was someone visiting the neighbours, and as she turned around everything went black and she felt a syringe entering her neck. Ew, no, oh, I hate needles and just like the thought of that. Ugh. No thank you. Next thing she knows, she's inside what she assumed was the black van. Everything from that point on was blurry. She said, like she was drugged. She drifted in and out of consciousness for the remainder of the drive, so she had no real concept of where they were or how long it took to get there. She woke up in a blindingly bright white room. She figured it was just a very white coat of paint, but she could have sworn the walls somehow reflected light back on themselves. The room was completely empty, save for two rather ordinary office chairs. One was occupied by herself, her hands now tied behind her back. On the chair opposite sat an old man with the creepiest smile she'd ever seen, and that was the statement coming from the princess of creepy smiles. "Hello, Grace," the old man said to her, still smiling while he talked. That's like extremely creepy, like, get the heck out of there, do some Matrix stuff, and get out. Grace didn't answer. She was panicked, she told me, desperately trying to break from her constraints, yelling for help. The old banalities. Well, they are? I don't understand that, but anyways, it took her a while to calm down, but the creepy old man never flinched. He just sat there, staring at her, grinning eternally, playing with his hideous red tie. "It's quite all right, Grace," he said to her darkly. "We are not here to harm you." She didn't believe him. I mean, how could she? True. They'd just kidnapped her from her home. You don't believe people who kidnap you from your home? Well, that's true, isn't it? That's like their first rule. So she just stared at him, unblinking, a cold, psychopathic gaze. She sat like that for minutes, she explained, trying to get him to feel discomfort. That was one of her finest skills, making people feel uncomfortable around her. But instead, the man just laughed. Not the hearty, ha-ha kind, but some maniacal sound you'd expect to hear from the deepest bowels of hell. I don't like where this is going. She was taken aback by the intensity of it, she admitted to me freely. "You are quite special, no?" the man finally said. "Quite special indeed." Grace still refused to give in to the man, and let me tell you, when she's in that mood, even the devil himself should worry. "I can tell that you are not the talkative kind," the man continued. "That is fine. I just need you to listen." The old man looked up at the ceiling. She could tell he was worried about something. It didn't take much for her to catch a whiff of weakness. Just a slight change in his expression would have been enough. His gaze wandered back to her. "You have something we need," he said. "A certain skill that is key to unlocking everything." The man shifted in his seat. The signs of worry became even more apparent to Grace. She just needed to figure out how to best exploit his weakness. She slowly looked around the room. There was nothing. Just a door behind her, a monstrous red thing. "You can guide the lost back," he said, smiling darkly. "Back to their earthly vessels. You know this, no?" Grace gave him a quizzical look. She knew she could talk to them, but she never considered bringing them back. "You don't know?" he laughed. "Well, that complicates matters. Not to worry, we will adapt." He raised a hand and Grace could hear the door opening behind her. A tall, middle-aged, dark-haired man walked in and stood silently beside her. There was something about him that felt eerily similar, she explained to me, but she couldn't quite put her finger on what it was. "This is my associate," the old man explained. He will take you home." Grace just stared at him puzzled. Just like that, they kidnapped her, brought her here to do what? Talk to her for 5 minutes? It just didn't make any sense. "My associate will come back for you," the old man grinned, "in exactly 1 year." He stood up and adjusted his tie. His blue suit was several sizes too large, and she only now realized how short the man was, like some dwarf from The Lord of the Rings or something. "In the meantime, Grace," he turned to the wall, "you must practice. We need you to learn." "And what if I don't?" Grace sneered. Honestly, same. "Well," the man said, presumably to her and not the wall, "we have no other course of action than to kill you and your mother if that were the case." Shit's getting real. And with that, the tall man untied her and put a black hood over her head. She was forcibly pushed in whatever direction she was supposed to go, and before long she felt a syringe entering her neck yet again. The next thing she remembered was waking up in the forest close to our home, a dead fox placed in her arms. "I tried to guide the fox back," she said, "but animals are different. They accept it. They don't feel compelled to return." I just sat there in silence, not quite knowing how to respond. It was all so unreal, you know? Like some sci-fi/horror mashup kind of crazy. "I found Dad," she continued. "He was looking for a way back. I thought I was able to guide him, but maybe he was too far gone. Maybe he's been dead too long. Kaylee was different. She came back right away." I was just about to reach over to attempt another awkward graveyard hug when a decaying half-skeletal hand shot up from the ground and grabbed my wrist. "No, thank you." "Oh shit," I shouted. I would have shouted way more than that. "Yay," Grace cheered. So that was a bit of a cliffhanger, am I right? I'm not going to do a part 3 today because it's been a long week. I'm going away next week, so if I don't upload next week and the week after, it's because I'm away. But I'll try my best to upload. It's going to be hard, but I'll try. Not that anyone really cares. Nobody watches my videos, so. Anyways, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed, please like the video, comment if you want part 3, and subscribe if you're new here. If you would like me to do different stories from r/nosleep on Reddit, then go ahead and comment it down below in the comment section, and I shall find another story that we can read together, or I can read to you. And yeah, also I have an Instagram now. I'll put the Instagram on the screen and in the description bar, so go follow my Instagram. And yeah, that's all I have to say now. That's all I have to say, so peace.